Welcome to Adelaide City Talks. My name is Henry Davis and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Mary Kuos, who is a fellow City of Adelaide councillor. In this podcast, we are going to give you an exclusive look into the decisions and discussions of our latest council meeting. And you'll even hear about an almost tragedy about a disagreement between Mary and I last night. Very interesting news. We almost didn't do the podcast today. However, whether you're a resident, whether you're a visitor or a local government nerd, buckle up and stay tuned to what's happening in the City of Adelaide.
Thank you, Henry. And just so we can reiterate, these are our opinions only and not the opinions of the City of Adelaide.
Now, I have a cold and Mary, you have hay fever.
Yeah.
So
really
this is going to be a little bit more cartoony than usual.
Yeah. And I've also bought you a peace offering.
Peace offering.
We didn't agree on a few things last night, didn't we? So this is not a sponsor. This is my favourite cafe around the corner on Perry Street, BTS.
BTS. What does BTS stand for?
Better than sex.
That's pretty great.
It's true. That is exactly what it stands for. I have not made that up.
It's true that. Okay, yeah.
And so we didn't disagree. We didn't agree on a few things last night.
No,
we had not a personal disagreement, but so everyone knows, everyone can understand.
It's a little bit like the way I see it.
How?
So it was about the land management plan. It comes down to the aquatic centre. Maybe we'll go to that first, right?
Let's do that.
So being a new councillor, I've seen in the news all of the issues around the aquatic centre about the Crows being about the Crows headquarters.
We are talking about.
I'm sick. All right, I've got a cold. So we're talking about the Crows headquarters going in the aquatic centre. There was a big statewide outrage about that, and then there's local lobby groups in the Adelaide Parklands Association, which I'm a member of the board, and essentially now we're coming up to this thing where we have these land management agreements that Adelaide under the Parklands Management Act has to update it every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
So we're kind of coming up to this point, and the state government needs us to finish our Parklands management plans and put them out in Gazette. Yeah. So this is one of, the way as a new councillor, I see this as an opportunity where we might be able to convince the state government to move the aquatic centre somewhere else. Now, as a continuing councillor, you have a lot more history on this fight, and you've probably been through this fight. So it's probably a little bit of a new guy on the scene trying to fight the man.
Yeah, well,
and a little bit more experience
we
from you.
actually started this from last term of council to have this the community land management for the parklands, but it didn't. Obviously, it's a piece of work that has come over into the new council. I don't have a problem with it. What I did have a problem with last night is that we needed to move forward on the item, and there were a lot of things that you needed explaining through Councillor Martin, Deputy Lord Mayor, that you agreed with him on certain things that you felt that needed further clarification. And I think you wanted to defer the item. So I think we had a lot of motions attached to the recommendation. But you wanted to defer the item. I didn't want to defer the item. I don't mind having the explanations explained for the Deputy Lord Mayor, but he produces really long and detailed amendment, which I'm sorry, I haven't memorised the whole.
We got plenty of notice though. So to be fair,
we didn't.
Yeah, you got heaps of notice.
No, we did at 5 o'clock.
Oh yeah, it was 5 o'clock, wasn't it?
He sent the email at 5 o'clock. The meeting's at 5:30.
So we got this massive amendment to this really important motion, which it went off the page. I couldn't even see it.
Delete page 5 to add 6.
We had 28 minutes notice. I was in my car traveling and loading up my computer, and that was apparently the notice we got.
Yeah.
And I think that there was probably a lot of overconfidence in that, thinking that he might have the numbers to just push it through. Now I was on board with. So what's happening is we have the Parklands management plan.
Yeah.
Right. And we also have the land management plans, and so they were going to split this document into two, because we originally. I'm so confused about really what's going on here. It seems to because of the last committee meeting, it really confused things, because we got handed this the community the land management plan that was meant to be gazetted and go out, and we went out for consultation. We had a huge amount of negative consultation come back in saying that they didn't want the aquatic centre to be planned for that site, right? They didn't want that to be a use for it. We then had an opportunity for members of the public to come and give deputations in a very strange meeting of council 2 weeks ago where we left the meeting, went to another one.
We left the meeting, went to another one. So we listened to the deputations of 3 people.
Yeah.
North Adelaide Society, the Shane Soddy, what's he from again? Sorry,
Soddy from the Adelaide Parklands Association.
Adelaide Parklands Association, and who else did we hear from? A resident from the South Ward.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so what was approved was the community land management plan, and previously in the document there was a lot of what we're going to do with that site, and there was a lot more of the planning for it. And then a lot of that got removed from the document, and it was more of this is the current state of play document. So the community, to try and summarize quite a complicated issue, the community felt that by taking out what the future ambitions were, that actually left a lot more open for change and for a lot more encroachment, I suppose, onto that.
But he also wanted to, in the committee meeting, not last night, he didn't talk about it last night, but in the committee meeting, he detailed points that he wanted a report from administration. And a lot of that was also about the liquor licensing laws, about the advertising laws, about the...
that's the Parklands management policy.
That's right. So he wanted the two to be intertwined together, right? Yeah. So... and for our listeners, I know it's really hard to understand. And let me tell you, it got confusing last night, and I could not agree to something that wasn't very clear. I respect, and I told him respectfully, I understand that you want information or this to be reviewed, but we have to approve the CLMP, and you can bring those concerns to you that you have to Caterpillar.
Yeah,
I was happy with that resolution, but you weren't.
Well, see, and I think the confusion about what is actually going on, I'm really honestly still not clear about what's going on in one of the most important documents in the city. So his motion was to include a whole bunch of changes into a separate document that would then influence the community land management plan.
That's right.
But still allow a lot of the protections that the community wanted to be removed in this iteration. But then there was going to be another document that kind of brought it back in, and that was asking for a further report. But then the community land management was then going to get gazetted. And we've been doing this a number of times now, and I just think that the entire chamber is really not understanding what's actually going to be gazetted and what the impact of that is. And so what I wanted to do was not do that. Stop everything and then come back with one document that sets everything out clearly so that everybody knows what's going on, because I think we need to definitely send this back to a committee or something.
But we're still doing that, Henry. We're still doing it. We've approved the CLMP.
But this gets gazetted now.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you can't make amendments, and it's still going to be reviewed. Those concerns that Councillor Martin, that really long amendment that I reckon was drafted by a lawyer, that
I don't think it was drafted by a lawyer.
Was still reviewed. It's still going to be reviewed by Caterpillar. It's still all going to happen. It's just, not going to happen the way he wanted or the way you wanted.
Long story short.
You got kicked out? Did you get kicked out?
Did you
get threatened to be kicked out?
Oh God, what a nightmare this was. Because.
I love it. I tried so hard. I see your frustration from across. I see your frustration.
Yeah, so the Lord Mayor is just going off piste, right? She is racing through the trees at full pelt with no guidance whatsoever, and I was extremely confused. So we have meeting procedures so that everybody knows what's going on. So we can in an orderly manner pass motions, and so that this is done in a coherent manner. There was this strange thing with letting in your motion, and she had to kind of ask you to move an amendment, which then got accepted, which then went back to the original motion. But then we took every single item individually, so we couldn't speak to your thing individually because everybody had already spoken, thinking that we were going to have 3 separate. It's very simple, right? You have an issue. Let's do item A. We move it, we second it, we vote on it. Now let's do item B. Let's move it, second it, vote on it. What we did was, let's do A, B, add C, add D, take away B.1, and then move it second, vote for everything, but then also vote for it independently. And it was extremely confusing being a councillor. And I stood up a number of times and said, Lord Mayor, let me help you. And she said, I don't need your help. And I said, I'm pretty sure you do need my help. because everyone is confused. And David Elliott on the other side, Councillor David, is like, I'm not confused. And then everyone's saying, we're extremely confused. Everyone in the gallery is confused as to what's going on, whose motion's getting what. And it's just bizarre that this is how she wanted to run it. I was exasperated. And then when I'm telling her how this is the clearer way to set this out, she's like, I'll kick you out. How dare you propose an alternative
You didn't.
way?
Well, she did. She used section something, I can't remember what it was, to remove you from the chamber, but you didn't move. You stayed.
No, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Did she?
I am using section, I can't remember what it is.
I just thought she was threatening to kick me out.
Oh, was it I will be using?
I thought she was. Plus, I think she'd miss me too much. We'd have no hope then.
We touched on this in our last episode, if anyone wants to recap on that one, about meeting procedures. And it was evident in last night's meeting that we still haven't resolved these issues. And it was very confusing. We were like, the circus has come to town and looked like it was at town hall, let me tell you.
You know what I loved? Was everyone patting themselves on the back about what an efficient process.
Well, I actually
we'll come back to yours. This is the heritage
want to talk about that, Henry. Do you want to talk about that now? I want to talk about that.
Well, so one last point on the aquatic centre, and this is the land management. So the state government has just acquired new land, including the West End Brewery. It's a very significant site. I believe they paid about $61 million for it. The aquatic centre is on parklands. This is now an excellent opportunity for the government to move the aquatic centre outside of the city. And I think that has some real benefits to it.
But you do know the complications in doing that, Henry.
What?
Okay, so
what are the complications? There's no complications.
David Elliott, who is a staffer for the Labor government, explained it to you when he stood up. We would lose the $20 million. We would still have to give the facility, the aquatic centre, $20 million because we've agreed to. No.
Isn't our $20 million for remediation of existing?
No, that money goes directly to them for them to remediate it. So they would just take that. It doesn't.
But we still have to remediate.
Well, he stood up and said.
So the budget is still. He
stood up and said that if we give them the $20 million, right, they will take that money and set up a facility outside of the electoral area.
Oh, no.
Isn't that what he said?
Oh, he might have. But what I'm suggesting is we take the aquatic centre, we let it run for the next 3 years. So people can still swim there. In the meantime, the state government wants to build 1,000 houses, and I'm suggesting they only build 960 houses, and they build a brand new $120 million facility right next to a whole bunch of houses, right?
But Henry, I understand what you're saying.
But the $20 million remediation, we would still have to spend to demolish the aquatic centre on that site.
I don't think
because that's what we're paying for, I believe.
Well, let's look into that. I don't know if that deed is subject to us fixing the remediation of the swimming centre.
Yeah, because
I believe it's subject to us
thing.
handing them the money then they will remediate the aquatic centre.
Remember that the aquatic centre was meant to be next door.
Yeah, I know.
And we were meant to spend $20 million.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about the policy of the $20 million. Let's look into that. Happy to talk about that at the next podcast. But at the moment, we'll come back to you on that one.
It was a nightmare, honestly.
But it was. And I know what you're saying, but you have to understand also, and I want our listeners to understand, it was a Labor election promise to build the aquatic centre on Park 2. And as I said to you last podcast, as I'll keep saying to everybody, if you want this removed to another site, it's not going to happen because the election promise is for Park 2.
Yeah, but look, if no one is going to be annoyed, let's just say I promise to buy you.
There will be people annoyed.
I promise to buy you like a Volkswagen Beetle, right? And I break that promise and buy you a Ferrari. Are you going to be that annoyed?
But Henry, I know that it's really hard for you to understand. But maybe I'm a North Adelaide resident.
That's what I'm saying. So you've got a little bit more history
I'm a North Adelaide
resident.
I'm a North Adelaide business owner. I know how North Adelaideans work and the rest of the community in the north. This is a very much loved centre on Park 2. It has been there for 50 years. It is formulated as part of the community for a very long time. Everyone is used to having that centre right there, and they want that centre right there. They do not want the position to change. And there was
because that's not what's going through in the consultation.
No, but there was a mass consultation done last term of council where the majority of people want the aquatic centre on part 2.
I haven't seen that. See, from my perspective, like the consultation that's coming back.
You're only talking about what Shane Soddy has talked to you about, right? He's only telling you what his people are saying. But there are a vast amount of people who do want the aquatic centre on part 2. Anyway, it's going to happen. Nothing we're going to do is going to change that.
All right, that's fair. We'll disagree to disagree.
We'll disagree and disagree.
We'll agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. Yeah.
I'm still got the fire in my belly. I'm going to keep pushing my wagon.
Okay.
So
what?
I might run a rescission. But look, we'll see how we go. Tune in next time. Great content for our podcast.
Oh, God. Okay.
Heritage.
Now,
cottages.
Yes, the cottages. We've got the cottages. We had a committee hearing.
So what is a cottage? Where is it? What is it? What do they do?
The committee meeting.
Let me eat my muffin.
Okay, the committee meeting I've got to find it in my papers here. So we had a committee meeting, was it on the 3rd of October? I can't remember. It would have been, 3rd of October, I was right. So we have the Heritage Incentive Scheme allocating $113,000 to the Botanic Chambers, which is 304 North Terrace, Adelaide, and $115,000 to the Kingston Terrace, North Adelaide, for repairs to state heritage.
This is delicious, by the way.
Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. State heritage properties. Now, we have 2 policies. We have state heritage, state heritage policy, and we have a local heritage policy and restoration of these buildings or heritage properties. However, they're not that great, the state ones.
No.
Okay, there's a lot of work that needs to be done
we both have funds for it, right?
We both have funds.
They have a fund.
So they were unable to get funded by the state, so they applied for the local, which is a council decision, which in committee on the 3rd of October, the council said no.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right? Council said no because they were state heritage listed.
That's right.
Buildings, so the state should look after the heritage listed.
We are a council that value our heritage. We are the ones that we are leaders in this space. And what we virtually said in that committee was, no, it's not our problem. It is our problem.
And that was the end of it. And we voted no, and we didn't give them any money.
Well, that was it. And I had my community just outraged. They were hurt. They were confused. They were sad. And I said to them, write to your councillors. I actually did not vote for it to be removed as a recommendation. They were just distraught. So they did. We had 2 deputations. We had emails. And then they did backflipped. The faction backflipped.
Oh, no. That's the beauty of the committee structure. There is no backflip because no decision was taken.
Well, this is my problem, Henry, and this is my problem as a ratepayer, as a family business owner in the city, as a resident. I like to have clear decisions. I don't want my community to feel any angst in regards to the decisions that we made, and that's what we did. So what we do currently in our committee is that you make a decision, and then you go to council and you can revoke your decisions.
You know what? Politically, it's genius, right? Because what you can do is you can make any decision you want at committee and then just completely screw it up.
Backflip.
Right? And then when everyone gets extremely outraged at you because you really screwed it up, then you can say, oh, no. We didn't actually make a decision. That's the council decision. And then depending on how many people get angry at your decision, you can then change it. A week later.
And then we had a councillor saying,
rather than making good decisions the first time round,
allowed me to speak to administration to understand it all
you
and to make
papers.
But you have the papers. You have administration at the committee to ask the questions. You have the papers for the committee 3 days before you enter into the committee to ask questions in regards to it. You have plenty of opportunity.
They're celebrating this as a win.
And
their committee structure. And I may have got slightly frustrated. I didn't come off as frustrated though.
I think you did.
Oh,
I think you did the whole, what is going on? I think you did the whole.
Because they all went, so like there was massive, they passed a stupid motion. All the community got angry and said, what the hell are you doing, council? They then overrid that decision and then started all patting themselves in the back.
Oh, yeah.
What a great process this was. And I sat there and said, no. I think that's what we call holding somebody to account and said, no, you've screwed up. And you're using this as a political tool to just see if anybody gets angry with the stuff that you do wrong.
It's so sad.
And then,
really
Councillor David Elliott stands up and says, point of order, you're not speaking to the motion, but he didn't have an issue with anybody else who was patting themselves on the back about this committee structure
within the motion.
And I'm saying, what a
But I'm very
farce
grateful that my community actioned. I went straight into action and spoke to the councillors, emailed them, did a deputation, and finally these terraces, these cottages are getting restored.
See, the biggest issue is if we make stupid decisions in committee and then no one gets angry. Like it gives comfort for the council to make bad decisions.
It does.
And or for the committee to make bad decisions and then just carry them through into the committee, into the council if nobody gets angry. I know. It allows the committee to just gloss over things and basically make decisions and not think about them and not tread very carefully.
I know.
And if nobody gets mad, well, no harm, no foul. Yeah. But really, these types of things are just, stabs, little attacks. They're little erosions of bad decision making, which then over the term of the council ends up being seriously bad choices. That's my biggest issue.
And I agree. That's where we agree on it all.
Oh, good.
Henry.
We're friends again.
We're friends again.
And this muffin is definitely helping. It's definitely
great. We passed the major decisions on the CLMP. You're not comfortable with that. We also
heritage
fought back for the heritage in the city of Adelaide,
and we unleashed Rundle Street.
Unleashed. Now,
what is unleashed? This is about dogs, isn't it? This is where this is dogs off leash in Rundle Street.
No. It is not. Oh. We have East End Unleashed.
Ah, right.
Okay, so East End Unleashed is where they close the roads off.
Oh wow, I got that motion wrong, didn't I? I thought about something completely different.
So this is where we close off the streets for the fringe, and it's a very, very popular event. It brings economic activity to the city, and it brings everyone into the East End. We all know that. Every year, every fringe, everyone flocks to the East End. The roads are closed. Everyone just...
It's a really big party.
Big party, right?
Yeah.
But what happens to the rest of the city?
What happened?
It's quiet. The north is quiet. The west struggles. South struggles. You're having fun there with your muffin.
You should bring more. If you want to talk more on this podcast, you just bring me more muffins.
But on a serious note, Henry, it is really sad.
So what the intention is that we have all this concentration in the East End.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that the entire city benefits from it.
So I moved an amendment for administration to investigate ways in which we can unleash the whole of a city during this time, whether it's small pockets, whether it's centralised, like for instance in Light Square for the West, we're upgrading Light Square, we're upgrading infrastructure there. We're spending a lot of money to be able to have outdoor facilities there. The north. Experimenting with pockets of the north, the south part of the city.
This is probably a really good example of when governments interfere and they put money into a certain sector that actually has a detrimental effect elsewhere. So as a government, you're activating one precinct, but then necessarily another precinct is going to suffer by that activation here.
Exactly.
Because it sucks that attention across. So,
but I'm not saying that it has to be to the level.
Oh no, I'm saying it's a good thing.
I'm not saying
but
that.
It's something we have to weigh up. And I think quite rightly, you were the one who brought it up and said, well, we actually are doing harm to other areas. We need to do this. This is great. This is a great facility, but we also need to promote other areas as well. And I think that was a great initiative.
Just so you are aware, our ratepayers are aware, for the East End Unleash, we do invest $140,000 for that event. So it is a quite substantial investment in that part of the city where all the other parts are suffering.
Yeah,
that's that. But that took a while to get there, Henry. But we got there. We added that in we pulled that out of the notes of discussion and added that in so it can be amended. And I got there, even though it was very confusing. Everybody didn't know what was up. So, but we got there.
That was probably that was the worst council meeting that we've had so far.
What about the trailer parks? How did you feel about that?
Trailer parks.
Trailer parks for the race. Remember, there was a amendment to that. Did you miss that?
I must have missed that.
We had it was in the paper where the Adelaide 500 event, they wanted to allocate 16,000 square meters.
Oh, and they expanded the event.
Yes.
Oh, of course. So and they yeah, isn't that funny? So because the state government runs this the Adelaide 500 event.
Yes.
And it's the state government. I feel definitely intimidated by the state government and coming in and just declaring things a major event and just wiping us out. We saw that with the Harvest Rock Festival, and I definitely think the council's saying, well, we don't want to get that before. And so we have a real struggle now in terms of trying to push back.
We do.
Right? And so we've lost that kind of confidence.
We have
like the Aquatic Centre, for example. But keeping on this one, and so essentially what's happened is a declared area for Adelaide. We've moved on, Mary. The Adelaide 500 event is now going to also take into place the Quinton Keenan Inclusive Play Space.
Well, that was always been
into
a problem.
The declared
and I
area.
I do. That was always a problem. That was a problem last race.
It's 16,000.
But they wanted an extra 16,000 square meters to be increased. They didn't say why, and then it was after discussions that the Lord Mayor had that they were looking at having it as a trailer park, where people come and set up camp. But I think they removed that
because that's a massive increase in the use of the space.
That's right.
And again, you've got to think about, well, now we're allowing camping, and that's going to take away from hotels and accommodation in the city as well.
Yeah.
So there's all these knock-on effects that happen as a result of it.
Yeah, but it's not happening this year.
Yeah.
But look, everyone be mindful. It might be something that will come up in next year's event. So anyway, that was discussed. Other than that, Henry?
That's probably it. Oh, actually, I do want to quickly say, final thing, that we have this draft parklands. So the council is currently considering a draft parklands community building, which is a sport and recreation policy. Now, if you are a sporting club or if you're a member of a sporting club in the parklands and you use that space, you need to be aware of what's in this policy, because this is how your club is going to be treated going forward.
So, Henry, how can they respond to this? Because this is really, really important.
So the Adelaide City Council website can be extremely difficult to access. So, but it will be going out for community consultation, that policy. And I highly recommend sporting clubs to jump on the Adelaide City website and have a say in that policy.
Did they indicate when that was going to be
It's going to start on the 20th of October and run until the 27th of November.
Yes.
And it's got a lot in there. It's got about like advertising on sporting boards, and it's going to talk about liquor licensing, parking, all this type of stuff.
All this sort of stuff.
So I warn sporting clubs, and I warn users of sporting clubs in particular, that this policy may include provisions that will really destabilize your club's ability to generate income and your sustainability. So you need to look at that very carefully. I'm going to be reaching out to the clubs personally to make sure that their attention is on this and that they understand what the implications are going forward, because this could really undermine their ability to sustain themselves.
It will. It's really, really important. We cannot stress it enough for the community to participate in the consultations that we have, because it gives the ability for you to have a voice.
Yeah.
And that's very much a subject on everyone's mind at the moment.
Yeah.
So speaking to the consultation as a deputation, as a sporting club, will be great as well. So we encourage everyone to do that.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks, Henry.
I think that wraps us up. Thank you very much for the muffin.
Thank you.
If you want me to talk less by muffins, it's delicious.
Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you then. Bye.
Okay, bye.